There was once a boy who lived in a small village, and though his heart was full of dreams, he rarely spoke a word in front of others. He was known in his school as the quiet boy, the one who always sat in the back and never raised his hand to answer any question, even when he knew the answer. His teachers often thought he was shy, while his classmates assumed he had nothing important to say, and slowly he began to believe it too. Every time he tried to speak, his voice would tremble, his hands would shake, and fear would take control of his thoughts and body. But deep inside, he knew he wanted to change. He wanted to speak clearly, confidently, and with courage in front of people. One day, his English teacher introduced a new activity called Story Circle, where students had to share a short story in English in front of the class. The very idea of speaking in English in front of others made the boy feel cold inside, and he wished he could disappear. That night, instead of sleeping, he stared at the ceiling and imagined himself standing in front of the class, forgetting all the words and feeling embarrassed. But he also imagined something else. He imagined what it would feel like to speak confidently, to be heard, and to be appreciated. For the first time, he made a decision. He would not run away from the opportunity, no matter how scared he felt. The next morning, he stood in front of the mirror and practiced saying, "Hello, my name is Rohan, and today I want to tell you a story." His voice cracked the first few times, but he didn't stop, and with each repetition, his voice became stronger and clearer. He used his notebook to write a small story in simple English about a dog who lost his way but found new friends and became brave. He read it again and again, pausing at every full stop, breathing calmly after every comma, and slowly learning where his voice sounded the best. On the day of the presentation, his legs were shaking, but his mind was steady, and he remembered the hours of practice he had done. When his name was called, he walked slowly to the front, looked at his classmates, took a deep breath, and began to speak. "Hello, my name is Rohan, and today I want to tell you a story," he said, just like he had practiced 100 times. As he spoke, the classroom became quiet, not because he was loud, but because his words were clear and his pauses made people listen. Every time he paused after a sentence, he could feel the confidence growing inside him, like light spreading in a dark room. When he finished the story, there was silence for a second, and then came the claps, loud, honest, and full of appreciation. For the first time in his life, he smiled in front of the whole class, not because he had done something perfect, but because he had finally spoken his truth. His teacher gave him a small note that said, "Your voice matters. Keep speaking. Keep growing." That night, he looked in the mirror again and said, "Thank you," not to anyone else, but to himself, for not giving up. From that day, he began to speak a little more in every class, answering questions, sharing ideas, and sometimes even helping others practice English. People began to notice the change. The boy who never spoke was now the one helping others find their voice. His secret was simple. He didn't become fearless. He just decided that his dreams were more important than his fear. He kept writing short stories in English, practicing each sentence with pauses and pronunciation, learning one word at a time. He watched English videos with subtitles, repeated every sentence out loud, and used every chance to speak, even if he made mistakes. His mistakes didn't scare him anymore because he understood that every mistake was a step toward fluency. Over time, he joined the school's drama club, and even though his English was not perfect, his expressions and clarity made him the star of the show. At the annual function, he performed a speech titled The Power of Speaking, and many students said they felt inspired. One boy came up to him after the show and said, "I want to speak like you. How did you do it?" He smiled and replied, "I practiced every day. I paused when I needed to breathe, and I believed my voice was important." That was the beginning of something even bigger. He started helping other shy students speak up in English. He created a small group called Speak Easy, where anyone could join and practice speaking without judgment or fear. Every evening, 5 to 6 students would meet, take turns, share their thoughts, and support each other like a family. The group grew slowly, but the impact was powerful. Students who never spoke in class were now leading morning assemblies. Rohan realized that the journey of learning English was not just about grammar or vocabulary. It was about believing that your voice has value. He began writing a diary in English, recording his feelings, progress, and lessons he learned each day. He made mistakes while writing, but instead of erasing them, he corrected them and learned why it happened. Slowly, his confidence in writing grew, and he started writing letters, emails, and even short speeches in English. His teachers noticed his growth and asked him to mentor new students who were struggling with the language. Rohan never imagined that the boy who once feared to speak would become someone who inspires others to speak. He always remembered the first time he stood in front of the mirror and said, "My name is Rohan," and how that small step changed his life. He would often say, "You don't need to be perfect in English to speak. You just need to be brave enough to try." Even when he made mistakes in front of others, he would smile and say, "Every mistake is a teacher. I'm still learning." Years later, when Rohan gave a speech at a youth seminar, his opening line was, "I was once silent, and now I speak because I believed I could." The audience listened with respect, not just to his English, but to his story, his journey, and his message of hope. He told them, learning a language is not about showing off. It's about connection. It's about expressing what matters. Rohan's story became an example for many, proof that even the quietest voice can make the loudest impact. Thank you for watching